And I'm talking to you.
Caught me at the right time, baby. Oh, I was at the end. Made me feel like that.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Natasha. Go ahead and subscribe because why not? So today I'm going to be telling you guys why your makeup routine probably sucks. I'm sorry, no shade, no tea, but I'm just trying to help the girls out. It's coming from a good place, I promise. So if you want to see how I got this look, you want the tips and tricks, make sure you're subscribed, like this video, and keep watching. So today we're going to talk about a few reasons why your makeup routine probably sucks. In my personal, humble opinion, I feel like everybody should know how to do their makeup. I'm not saying you have to be a professional. I'm not saying it has to be beat to the gods, but just know how to do it. Just because, even if you don't wear it every day, even if you wear it once a year, know how to do something. As a girl, as a woman, as a lady, as whatever, we should know how to do basic things and just be self-sufficient. Know how to do our makeup, our hair, nails is a reach, but like our nails, like I don't know. I just feel like we should just learn how to do these things just because you never know what can come up. So I'm gonna do my makeup step by step with you, and we're gonna go over some of the things that you probably should change or add to your routine. So for the first time probably ever, I'm coming on here with nothing on my face. No moisturizer, no serum, no nothing. My face is dry. It feels terrible. So before I prep my face, I'm gonna add my brow gel. I like to do my brow gel first for a lot of reasons. And I know a lot of people don't like brow gel, or they've been telling me like the brow gel isn't working for them and this and that. And I'm gonna maybe help you. So for me, I like to apply the brow gel with preferably no product, no moisturizer, no serum, no primer, no foundation, no nothing. And then go back to your brows last, because by the time you go back to your brow gel has probably completely dried, so you're able to add product. It's going to dry. So you want to make sure that your brows fully dry, and just do this first. So if you are using brow gel and you are not letting it dry completely, I don't want to hear nothing. Most times, y'all are not listening to me, and we gotta listen. We got to listen, okay? So brow gel first with nothing. That way you can like wipe off any product. You can really get it in there, get your brows as flat as possible. Why is this one strand sticking up? And just kind of shape and mold your brows. And all the products that I'm using will be listed down below, because today's focus isn't really the products. It's more so the technique and the tips and tricks that you need to add or take away from your routine. Now my brows are set and in place. Leave them alone. Don't touch them. Don't do anything to them until the end, and we'll get back to that. Time to roll my sleeves up. So like I said, I have nothing on my face. My face is literally dry as heck right now. So I'm going in with moisturizer. This is the Youth to the People Superfood Air Whip Moisturized Cream. This is a great moisturizer in general, but I really like this under makeup as well. It's not your typical moisturizer when you think of a cream. It's really light and really airy and absorbs into the skin really nicely. So definitely one of my favorite moisturizers. But please moisturize your skin before you apply makeup. There's so many products going onto your skin. There's powders, there's all different types of things going on your face. You need a nice smooth canvas. You need something that when your foundation goes on, it just kind of glides. If I was to put foundation on right now, it's going to end up being patchy. It's not going to look as plump. It's not going to look as radiant or natural. It's not going to look like how I like my makeup if I just go in without moisturizer. And I've done it before. I've tried to test the theory. I try to cut back as many products as possible and see if I need this or don't need that. But I do. I need all these things. And if it makes me extra, then I guess I'll just be that. When you're applying in layers, you want to make sure you're kind of letting it sit. Let it set for 60 seconds, 2 minutes maybe, even 3, depending on the product. If you're impatient, use one of those little fans like this. In 30 seconds, you'll be good. But you don't want to just keep applying stuff on top of each other, because it's going to start beating up and peeling, and that's going to mess up your makeup, or it's going to cause it to be patchy. So you just want to take your time applying your products. And let me tell you guys something, and I'm talking to you because I know you're one of those people. As a makeup artist, everybody and their mama swear that they are oily, and I'm looking at their skin like, no, it's not. Your skin is actually screaming for moisture. I don't know why people think that your face is supposed to be flat and matte. Even with the mattest of foundations, the mattest makeup look, you still want to bring some life to it underneath and have the skin be balanced basically. What happens is a lot of times people think they're oily and they'll do everything to suck the moisture out. They're not moisturizing. They're using mattifying products. They're using a matte setting spray, and it's actually causing your skin to get oilier because your skin is literally screaming for some kind of hydration. So your skin starts to overproduce oils to make up for that. So that's why a lot of people think that they're oily, is because they are depriving their skin of any moisture. So if you add moisture to your skin, it's going to add balance, and you will not get as oily as you think you are. So there are people that are actually oily. Yes, if you are actually oily, if you add mattifying products, it is going to balance out because you are in fact oily. If you're not oily and you think because you get a little radiance on your cheek, a little oiliness on your nose, and you're sucking all the moisture out, what's going to happen? Don't be disrespectful. What's going to happen is your skin is going to overproduce and you're going to be oilier. So my suggestion to you, if you are oily or if you think you're oily, put moisturizer on anyways. You can use a light moisturizer like the one I used today. For oily people, I do recommend like a gel or water-based type of moisturizer, because if you're already producing oils, you don't want to add anything thick and oil-based on your face. You want to do something, you want to counteract with it a little bit. So I suggest a water-based moisturizer, and it does help. So just listen to your girl. I'm trying to help you out, okay? And there are a lot of people who get oily in their T-zone. Just focus on those areas. Do not mattify your whole face. That's not necessary. Just pay attention to your skin. I can't tell you about your skin, but 9 times out of 10 I'd be right. Another great alternative if you are oily or you want something really light under your makeup is like a lightweight moisturizer like this serum-y type of formula. I'm actually just gonna put it on because I like to double up. But this is the Ilia Base Milk, and it's really light, like super light, but it absorbs quickly into the skin. It adds life back. So this is a great alternative too if you are more on the oily side, or if you just don't want anything too heavy on your face. And both moisturizers are not necessary. I'm just trying to give you guys options, and I am a doubler. If you guys watch me, you guys know I will use double moisturizers, primers, foundations. That's just my thing. That's what I do. But I'm gonna try to simplify it for you guys today. Hit them under eyes too, girl. Still prepping the skin, and we're moving on to primer. So today I'm using the Urban Decay All Nighter Face Primer. I love this. The best way to describe this, actually, I'm not going to compare this to anything. It's just a good primer. So the whole point of a primer generally is to create a barrier between your skin and the foundation or the makeup, whatever you're applying onto your skin, right? So think of it as like paint. When you're priming a wall, if you were to put paint on just a regular wall, the color underneath would probably bleed through, or the paint would be patchy or have little specks and bubbles underneath. When you add the primer, you're getting a nice smooth base. Your paint job is lasting longer because you've primed it. It's less prone to chipping, like all those things. Like think of it as the same kind of thing. So that's why we want to prime our face. So most primers' objective is going to be making your makeup long lasting and creating that barrier so that it's not seeping. You're not seeing your skin underneath when you apply your foundation, all those things, right? Right. This is where the confusion comes in. There are so many primers on the market, literally thousands of them. You have illuminating, you have mattifying, you have pore filling, you have hydrating, you have gripping, you have all types of things, right? Again, keep in mind that the main purpose of a primer is to keep your makeup intact. So just factor that into whatever primer that you're purchasing, right? So next, pick a primer based on either the look that you're going for or whatever suits your skin type. So if you have drier skin, I would highly recommend a illuminating or a what's the other one? What did I just say? Hydrating primer. Or if you're looking for a more glowy, dewy look, get the illuminating primer. If you're oily, get the mattifying primer. If you want to give a flawless filter type of look, get the blurring. What else? What is the other option? I think it's just blurring. So when it comes to prepping your skin, it is very important to buy based off of your skin type and the look that you're trying to achieve, not based on what's popular right now. And we're going to get into that later because, anyways, I typically like a medium to full coverage look. I like my finish to be more natural, but not dewy, but not matte, like right in the middle, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think that there's a primer on the market that does all the things. So that's why you guys see me typically using 2 primers because I want my makeup to last and be all intact, and then I want a flawless filter look. So next I'm going in with the Hourglass primer, and this is an airbrush primer, which is going to be blurring. With my second primer, I typically just like to apply that where my skin is more textured, because I do have textured skin and hyperpigmented skin. And you can see after applying that, it looks like my skin has a soft focus filter to the center. Maybe I'm delusional, but I see it. I see it. Time for foundation, babes. I'm literally only saying the products because I know people are still gonna ask, but do not take this tutorial and say, I need to get this, that, that, and that. No, listen to what I'm saying in this video, please. Please. For foundation, I'm gonna be using the NARS Soft Matte, which if you've been watching me, you guys know this is so not like me. I'm normally like a skin tint type of girl. Like, I really like to build my face. I don't believe in like super full coverage, but I've just really been liking this foundation and it has not been steering me wrong. So the same thing applies for your foundation as with your primers. So you want to pick a foundation that is going to give you the look that you're looking for, whether it's natural, whether it's full glam, whether it's matte, whether it's dewy. Don't just buy things because you see somebody else using it. Read what it is. Is it full coverage? Is it a dewy finish? Is it long lasting? Is it this? Is it that? Read all of those things and determine what foundation you're going to buy based on that. I think that we overcomplicate things, and I think also, I hate to use this word, but overconsumption is a big part of the reason why people are not satisfied or getting the looks that they want, because they're just buying stuff. They're buying stuff, buying stuff, buying stuff, and they don't need it. There's so many things that go viral, or so many things that I see people using, and I'm like, I know I'm not going to like that because I don't like that kind of finish. I don't like that consistency of a foundation. I don't like that kind of powder, so I'm not going to buy it. You don't have to be a professional to know these kind of things. Literally just, like, you know, just think a little bit. Just think a little bit. I'm like a hard teacher. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to baby you. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm here to give you information and we're going to learn. So anyway, so I have my foundation on the back of my hand. I personally like to use the back of my hand to warm up the product. And stop doing this. This situation is not going to work, especially for foundation. I do that with my tints because tints are typically lighter. But even then, I shouldn't be doing that. Use the back of your hand and use a flat brush and literally just distribute the product all over your face in a downward motion. You always want to blend downwards. You don't want to blend upwards. I don't know why, you just don't. And I like to apply my foundation like this mainly because I'm not over applying product, because when you have too much product on your face, that's when your face starts to get oily. It starts to separate. Your face can only handle so much, okay? And you're also going to be adding more things. You still have concealer to add, bronzer to add, powders to add, blush to add. You don't want to just pile on a bunch of foundation, you know? And I pretty much used everything on my hand. I'm going to take my foundation brush, and I like to use a brush like this. This is a Morphe brush, but it's a nice buffing brush. My other brush that I typically use is another Morphe brush. Same concept. You feel me? Another brush. Let's see what's in the collection. Another brush is like this. It's flat, but it still has that buffing motion. I don't like to use a flat brush like what I just used to apply it. That is simply for application, in my opinion. So now I'm just going to take my time and buff. Buff, buff, buff. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. I'm not understanding the rush. I get it. We don't want to spend all day on our makeup. But when you're rushing and then like you hate it, you're having to go back and fix things, or you're having to walk around all day self-conscious, like just take your time. Take your time and just buff it in, buff it in, buff it in, buff it in. We don't need to swirl. We don't need to go like this. Just this. That's all you need to do. And you can see it literally blending into my skin. And you're seeing this in real time. And then the only place I do drag is like down my neck, so that it doesn't give a masky look. I just like to take the extra and just drag it down. The reason why I don't like to go in with the foundation is because, for one, I don't feel anything on my face right now. My face feels like it did when I had moisturizer on. Like, I don't feel anything, right? But at this point, you can kind of look at your face and analyze and say like, okay, well, I would prefer more coverage right here. So you can just, I don't have anything on my hand, but let's say I had something on my hand, I can just go in and just cover that some more and just focus on that area. Or if I have some on my chin, I can go in and focus there instead of adding a whole nother layer. And I actually am going to add a little bit more on my chin, So it's my problem area. And voila, if you feel like you look like a potato, you're doing it right. It's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna show you guys this next step because I've just been obsessed. But in my opinion, I don't think that cream products are very beginner friendly when it comes to blushes, cream, liquid, whatever you want to call it. Skip that. Skip it now. Don't give yourself the headache. It is not necessary. But this e.l.f. Camo Liquid Bronzer, I like adding bronzer instead of contour. And we'll get more to that when I do my powder. But I like adding this because it just adds a little depth to the skin. A little oomph. So if you're a beginner, skip this part, okay? And look at that, my camera's overheating, so I'm gonna blend this out and be back. And also, like, when it comes to using cream or liquid products, these are gonna give you more coverage as well. So that's why I don't like to go so ham with the foundation, okay? Is on, and as you can see, it added just some oomph to the skin. I don't want to confuse you guys. If you guys want to see how and why I use this, check out other videos on my channel. I've been using this for months, and you guys can see all the tea on that. So moving along. So back to the foundation real quick. As you guys notice, I didn't apply foundation directly under my eyes. If you look closely, there's like no product under there. I don't have insane bags, so it kind of just looks balanced out, but I have no coverage under there. Like from like right here to right here, there is no foundation. And why? Because I'm going to be adding concealer. And when you add too much product on top of each other, you get creasing, you get separating, you get the heaviness. What is that noise? And we want to avoid that. I've actually been doing my concealer differently, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you guys the correct way to do your concealer. So you always want to start with the concealer that is closer to your skin tone. I'm using Danessa Myricks in the shade number 14. And as you can see, it's like a hair lighter than my skin tone, but it matches pretty close. And I'm just applying that under my eyes. Well, yeah, I'm applying that under my eyes and going upwards. Because the whole point of doing your under eye concealer is to lift your eyes. Also, notice that I'm leaving like a little space, a little hair in between my under eye and my concealer, so that when I blend, my concealer has somewhere to blend up to. Because if I just apply it all up under there and all thick, what's going to happen is my concealer is going to have nowhere to move to, and I'm going to still crease. And my makeup's going to look crazy by the time I leave the house. Especially in the places where there is actual creasing. Like our eyes naturally crease. I don't know why we have this idea of there being no texture under the eyes, no creasings. Like our eyes move. You can't help it. You're gonna have some kind of texture in that area. So I have to apply the concealer as well around my mouth. Again, this is the shade that is closest to my skin tone, so it's actually going to be concealing any areas in my face that I want concealed. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people doing is adding too much of this. I am guilty of that too, but also I know how to finesse it and I know how to fix it. But if you're a beginner, you want to kind of lay off of the super bright under eye, should I say, and not even the super bright under eye, applying too much product. The downfall is, let me just get my words, gather my thoughts. Basically, we're applying too much product. You need to slow down. Too much dip on your chip. So now I'm using the shade number 11, and I'm going to apply that. You see how I skipped and have a little gap? I'm going to add that right there and connect it. And do not drag your concealer down. A lot of people do what do you think is going to happen when you blend it out? When you blend, product has to move. So now your whole under eye is going to be all and we don't want that. We're trying to lift the face, brighten the face, and do all those things. Brightening concealer into the skin tone shade so that everything can blend together. I like to sandwich the concealer or apply it on top just so that the bright shade blends into the skin tone shade and you have the perfect shade. I used to apply the skin tone shade first, blend it out, then apply the lighter shade and then blend it out and then set. But one, too many steps. Two, it blends out better like this and is a lot more seamless. And I think I may have finally ditched the sponges. I do love my sponges. They've gotten me very far in life. But I think it is best to blend your concealer out with a brush. For one, you have a lot more control and you're getting a better coverage. Depending on, first of all, a lot of people wet their sponges and fail to wring them out, or they're just too wet. You know, sometimes you have to like wet it the night before and let it be like kind of damp the next day, or spray it or something, or it's just too dry. So the brush is just the best alternative. I personally like to use the brush, and you guys are going to see in real time how it blends it out. And it does take a little longer, but you guys, it's just well worth it, okay? And the sponge also typically is absorbing a lot of your product, which is why you're having to go back and add more concealer. You feel like, oh my God, I need to add so much because it's disappearing. Yeah, it's disappearing because the sponge is literally absorbing it. And I like to blend the center of my face out first so that my under eyes can get more full coverage. So it's just kind of setting as I'm blending these other areas. I will link this brush down below. I also always list that down below for those who ask. And when you're blending, you want to more so do those same tapping motions that you did with your foundation. You don't want to drag or pull. You just want to like tap, 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 so that wherever you applied the product is where it's staying. It is going to move a little bit, but you basically applied it how you want it to appear on your face. And just look up so you can get all up in there. And do you see how easy that blended? Love it. Like, look at that. And I'm just blending, blending, blending. So now I'm going to set the under eye. You want to set your under eye immediately so that it does not crease, it does not settle into your lines. So I'm going in with my Dion Cosmetics powder in the shade number 3. A lot of you guys seem to be confused. You're like, oh, are you using 4, 5, 3? I have all the shades. And so whatever shade I said in that video is the shade that I used that day. This powder is a little bit on the, almost like, there's a true color, like skin tone, yellowy type of color. And I like to use a powder puff. This is also the Dion Cosmetics powder puff. And I like to get the extra off and then just press it into the skin. Just press it in there. And this is like a brightening powder. So that's why I feel like I don't need to go in with a super bright concealer, because your powder is going to brighten your under, like, oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. And I know people keep telling you, don't set your under eye with a loose powder first. Use a pressed powder. That can also get cakey and heavy. I do like that technique, but it's not beginner friendly. So you don't need to do that. Just take your powder and press. I think what they're telling you is not to bake onto wet concealer. That's what you don't want to do. But if you press it in, you'll be fine. Just like get it in there, girl. Also, you want to press it into any other areas that you apply concealer, just to add balance to the face. So a lot of people think that setting the face stops with just setting the under eye and going on about your day. No, if it's wet, it needs to be set. That's concealer. That's foundation. If you use a cream bronzer, if you use a cream, tongue twister, cream blush, it needs to be set. I'm going with this pressed finishing powder by Rare Beauty, and I'm just going to press that into the skin. I'm not swirling. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just pressing it in. So there is a difference between a pressed finishing powder and a pressed foundation. So what I'm using is a pressed finishing powder, which is sheer and has a slight tint, but it is going to lock in your foundation. A pressed powder is gonna be way more full coverage. Like if I swipe this, there's not a lot of coverage on my hand, right? Now let me find a pressed foundation. So if I was to swatch this pressed foundation, the coverage is way stronger. So this is the pressed powder and this is the pressed foundation. There is no right or wrong. You can use whatever you prefer, but a pressed foundation is formulated to be worn on its own without any liquid foundation underneath. So it is going to be heavier and your face might get a little oilier quicker. So that's why I be saying less is more. And I just like to use something light like this, or the Sephora Micro Smooth, the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. Those kind of powders are going to be great for this step, because again, you're locking it in, you're getting slight coverage, but you're not getting anything too heavy. And when you apply the powder foundations, they start to change and disturb what you already did, because again, it is another foundation. Don't forget to set everywhere that you put your foundation, down your neck, all of that. I've definitely used a powder foundation for this step, but it is a lot heavier. I just feel like there's a time and a place, and this is just a lot more, I just like it. I don't know. I did do cream bronzer, but even if I didn't, I would be using a powder bronzer, and I'm just going to apply that where I did the cream. So when it comes to bronzing or contouring, this is where a lot of people get lost in the sauce, confused. Natasha, me, this girl, this makeup artist, this makeup girly does not like contour. Very rarely again. I feel like contouring can come off very cool, very muddy, very gray, depending on the route. I think that we should leave the contouring to professionals. I think that bronzer is a lot easier to work with and you still get the same sculpted look. You're getting dimension back in your face without the gray cast. So just pick a good bronzer and just apply it to the areas that you would contour. If you want a deeper contour, then just use a deeper bronzer. There's so many out on the market right now, especially for us brown girls. They're not just red anymore. Like even this NYX one is not super red or orange. It's a nice neutral tone bronzer, which I love. So you can see it's giving my face that warmth, but it's not overwhelming, and it smells so good. I don't know if I'm just hungry today, but oh, this smells so good. I just want to like, I do the same with my nose. I use my bronzer on my nose. I do not contour my nose. Even if you use a contour, you're still gonna have to go over that with a bronzer to add warmth back to your skin, because nobody just wants to have a shadow on their face, you know? Now it's time for blush. Personally, I 9 times out of 10 I skip cream blush unless I'm feeling very extra, unless I'm just But I've also realized, and I talked about this in my last video, I like cream blush, but I don't think it makes a huge difference for my makeup routine. That's just me. So I just go in with my good old powder brush, blush. This is by Juvia's Place. This is volume 5. I love this shade, especially for the summery months. I'm just loving this like corally reddish pink. I don't know, I just mixed the two. And I'm also using a lighter brush. So a lot of times for blush, people will use like, trying to find something where I just saw a lot of times people will use a more packed or dense brush for the blush, and that's cool. It's gonna give you the pigment, but I really like my blush to be more so diffused, especially because most of the blushes that I use are highly pigmented. So I don't need to look like I got slapped in the face, because as you can see, the pigment is there, and this just fans it out really, really nicely. So if you haven't tried a lighter blush, the word blush and brush today is getting me, but just try that and, you know, do your thing. So I don't bake, but I like to do this little reverse contour bake situation, and this is gonna give the illusion that I did contour my face. I forgot, and lately I've been taking this illuminating blush and placing that on top, because I don't really do highlighter all the time, but this just adds a little texture to the face. I really like blush, but I'm always going over it and toning it down. I don't know. Honestly, don't have any tips when it comes to the brows except the brow gel. I feel like it makes doing your brows so much easier, and it shapes them for you. So I like to do that, and now that my brows are dry and in place, I'm going to use concealer like so to blend it out. And with this technique of doing my brows, it literally makes it so much easier for me, because even right now, like sometimes I honestly forget to fill in my brows, because it's like it just looks like it's done. Once I do that, I like to go in with my brow pencil and just fill in any gaps. I'm not really drawing it, I'm just kind of going through and flicking the pencil through it. Just spray my face and do my finishing touches and then come back. But a lot of times, a lot of people mistake setting mist for setting sprays, and they're two completely different things, or fixing sprays for setting spray. So a setting spray is just that, a setting spray. It is going to set your makeup in place, lock everything in, and when you're spraying that, you should most likely be done with your makeup. A fixing mist or a setting mist, or what else do they call it? Like a Fix Plus. A Fix Plus is not a spray. I don't know why. It's been decades. And we keep telling you guys, regular MAC Fix Plus is not a setting spray. It is a spray that you spray before your setting spray, which is going to melt all the makeup in and make all the powders look nice and skin-like, which my face actually looks really good today. Like some days I forget to spray my face because it looks so good. Other days I feel like I need spray to like melt everything in and give it some juice, you know what I'm saying? And I also do think a lot of brands mislabel some of their sprays as setting sprays to get people to buy them, when really they're fixing sprays. Yeah, that's why a lot of times you guys see me spray 2 times, because it's like one gives me a little bit of oomph and the other one locks it in. So I'm going in with the NARS Reflecting Setting Mist first, which in my opinion is like a fixing spray. It kind of melts everything in because it is more hydrating. So it's gonna give my skin some life back, and you guys are gonna see. But I do think that this does have some setting properties in it, because my face lasts with this too, but We're gonna rewind real quick. A lot of people don't like to use powders. They don't like to set their face, set their under eye, set anything, because they're like, oh my god, powders look cakey. Your setting mist or your fixing spray is gonna save that. As long as you have that on standby, it's gonna save the day. Now don't go in with a setting spray trying to do that, because then you're just gonna lock in those powders and you're gonna look chalky and all the things. So yeah, so once you let that dry, I'm going with a setting spray. I'm gonna use the Danessa Myricks Oil Control Setting Spray. A great alternative to this is honestly gonna be like Urban Decay All Nighter. It's like the same vibe, but I just have this, so I use this. And just let that dry. Let it do its thing. So this is the completed look. I did add, what is this called? Eyeliner. It's like a brown liquid liner, mascara, and gloss. That's it. Y'all seen everything else, okay? So I hope this was helpful. Follow these tips. Check back in with me and let me know if they helped. I'm pretty sure they will. I'm pretty confident that they will. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
Baby, where would